everybody. Happy June. It is June 3rd, 2025. My name is Melissa, and this is my channel Geeky Witch about all things cross-stitch in my life. It has been a weird few weeks. Lots going on. And I'm very glad it's June and that I made it through May, because, yeah. To sum up my stitching May, Stitch Mania went completely off the rails. I had grandiose plans, as I always do, and they didn't go as planned because I didn't account for 4 medical appointments that had me running all over the place, and really didn't account for a completely unexpected major home repair, which has put my husband and I into 5-digit debt. Let me just say that if you own a house, make sure that you have the extension to cover your main drain replacement, please. Because if you don't have that, you get into trouble like us. It was about $17,000, and that wasn't even to go all the way to the street. So, anyway, so it's been a fun month, and I'm here, barely. But it's June. It's going to be almost 80 degrees today after being freezing the last couple of weeks where we actually had to put the heat on in May, which to our New England souls is like sacrilege. It's supposed to be like 90 degrees here on Thursday. So hooray New England weather. And I'm trying to move forward and just breathing. So I did get some stitching done, but I'm not going to bother showing you what I did on my current works in progress because I didn't get to a whole lot of them, and what I did get done was kind of pathetic and like 50 stitches kind of a thing, so you're not going to see all that much of a difference. I can, if you want, I can pull them out for the next episode, but there's really not a lot done on them, and it's kind of embarrassing, and it's like, and some of them I didn't even get to. But I will show you the two things I had for WhipGo in May, because I did make some progress on those. And I'm going to show you the new starts that I did for May, because as I'd said in my last episode, I thought it was really funny how this year I gave myself permission to start whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and I hadn't started all that much stuff. It's like you give yourself the freedom, and then what the heck, you know? But needless to say, I actually did start stuff this month, and I think I did it out of like trying to relieve stress of everything else going around. It was like, I don't care, I need something new to do to just make me feel happy and get that excitement of a new start. Yeah. So I started a few things. Just a few. We'll put the halo up above my head. Yeah. And I've decided for June, we're going to calm down a little bit, and I'm not going to be working on quite as many projects. I actually am focusing specifically on 4 projects. I don't even know if I'm going to get to my WhipGo stuff this month. We'll see. But there's 4 projects that I do want to move along and that I really have the energy to focus on right now, so that's what I'm going to do. If that changes, it changes. Who cares, right? It's stitching. It's supposed to be fun. But before I show you projects, a couple of things. We should all, quietly do our last thank yous to Joann's and their sales. I hope you were able to find something in the last couple of months. Our Joann's here in New England got like a very last minute dumping of embroidery floss with about a week and change to go before the final closings last week. And so my friends and I were like sending text messages of, okay, you go to this Joann's and I'll go to this Joann's and let us know what you find there. It was pretty funny. At needless, they only got like, each Joann's only got like maybe 5 to 10 colors each. It was really weird. It was like totally random. Like someone went back on a shelf and just grabbed like a section and just sent it to that Joann's, not, you know, so there was no rhyme or reason whatsoever of it. And the starting, or actually not the starting photo, I'll put it at the end. I'll show a couple of the photos of what I saw at the last couple of days of Joann's when I was taking photos and sending them to my friends and what was available, because it was just surreal. But I did get a lot of floss. I maybe bought a little too much floss, but I had to, because it wound up, by the time I had all the discounts, it was like 5 cents a skein. I'm not kidding, 5 cents a skein. It was down by like 90% to start, and then individual stores were having like their own individual store discounts. So by the time all the discounts whacked off of the total, it was like 5 cents. It was ridiculous. So you'll see I have that crate there. That's all embroidery floss that I bought last week or the week before. And I finally bought one of those Joann sewing boxes, which is the flowery one. The one on the bottom is my own, and that has nothing to do with this floss thing right now. That actually just has like spools of sewing thread in them. But that flowered box is also completely full of embroidery floss that I bought last week. I probably bought about 500 to 700 skeins of embroidery floss. I haven't counted yet. Yeah, a little embarrassing. I am never going to have to buy Christmas Red 321 ever again. Ever again. I'm never going to have to buy that really bright purple DMC 333 ever again. I bought enough of it. That really pretty teal, though, I am fully convinced that I'm going to do a long dog in that teal. Haven't figured out which one yet, but I think a long dog will be done in that teal because I have like 25 skeins of it. It's bad. And thus is my purchasing done for the year, for a whole lot of reasons, probably with anything. Anyway, so after that, and saying goodbye to Joann's and having a last walk through my local Joann's and just feeling sad because, you know, so much of the store was empty at that point and roped off, and it was like, hopefully, you know, I can do okay with Michael's going forward. We shall see. I am not one of those that's affected as much by fabric issues as many sewers are, and I understand that they're heartbroken if they were folks that did like cosplay and some a lot of people that couldn't afford the fancier shops for sewing fabric. So I get that they're hurting a lot more than I am as a cross stitcher, since a lot of my stuff leans more towards specialty fibers and stuff. But it's just sad. Joann in some form has been, you know, part of my life since I was a kid, when Hancock Fabrics was merged with them. I mean, I used to go to Hancock Fabrics with my mom. That's where I got my version of the castle from Teresa Wensler. So it's just a sad ending to it, and I will miss my days of wandering the aisles of Joann's. But moving on from there, I am, because of the giant bills that have racked up between the house repair and my health issues that I've had since last July, which are all in check, by the way, but it's just catching up on the bills from everything. And now, because of a new development with my husband's job, he's staying with the company, but they're relocating his job up to their headquarters, which is north of Boston, which means his commute is about to suck. Majorly suck. Mine to Boston sucks, but he would be going even further north. So we now, if everything goes well and, everything, he's going to have a new manager and it's a new location. And so he has to kind of feel like he's doing the trial run of a job all over again before we make any drop down decisions. But now we're looking at a house move sometime in about a year is where I agreed with him. Look, hang tight for a year, see if you like it. Let us get stuff in order around here, that kind of stuff. And then we'll look about moving, because moving back into Massachusetts is a major cost jump from where we live now. So in light of all that, I need to think about offloading some stash, both to catch up on some bills and also just for realistic moving, because I don't know what kind of space we're going into when we move. So I have a box, and you can't really see it on the floor right now, but it's a box of a good 40 to 60 things so far that I weeded out of my stash last like December, January, just to start cleaning out my stash. There's probably going to be more rounds, but this is what I have to start. And so I am going to be putting that on sale. My plan is to get the first round of it up this weekend, probably Sunday. It is open to anybody. I'm a little nervous about international pricing for shipping, but we'll kind of see how that goes. And if I have to scale it back, then I'll scale it back later. But for right now, I'm going to keep it open to anybody. I am going to sell on Facebook because I just find that to be the easiest place for me to do it, because I have seen other people do it that way and I know how they set things up, and I think that will work best for me. I will post the link of that page in my comments below here. You're welcome to join. I will be accepting payments by either PayPal or Venmo. Those are the two options. I'm not going to take any other versions of payment, partially for my protection, partially for yours, and just for ease of everything. I have never done this before, so I'm a little freaked out by it. But it has to be done. So if you'd like to join up and see what I have, feel free. There will be more coming down the line, because if you notice behind me, there's a whole ton of magazine files on these two shelves. All of those magazine files, except for the black ones right here, because those are magazines like my Christmas ornament issues and stuff. All the rest of that is all patterns. I have more patterns than I could ever hope to stitch in like 3 lifetimes. I need to whittle them down. So there will be more coming. I will probably be doing another round of this after Frogwarts in July. And, but so this will be kind of an ongoing thing. And I will obviously announce on that Facebook page and here if I get a post up going, hey, I'm going to do another round. And if there's anything you like, awesome. If there's stuff that's still lingering by the time I go to like Stitch New England in October, I may offload some of the more things there. There are some things that I've pulled out of stash that were like copies that, were complimentary copies, which I obviously can't in good faith sell. So those are going to go straight to Stitch New England. Haven't decided on magazines yet. if there's an interest in magazines, let me know in the comments. These would be like World of Cross Stitching and like the UK magazines, primarily from 2008 to maybe 2012, that I just haven't touched in years, that are just sitting around. So yeah, those are coming. Feel free to join. Feel free to tell your friends that stitch. Anyone's welcome. There we go. Okay, so now that that's all out of the way, let's show some stitching off. So my two WhipGo projects for May wound up both being samplers, reproduction samplers. The first one that I was working on is Miss Lucy Calcutt, 1825. She was 8 years old, y'all. 8. I saw a stitched copy of this at the Celebration of Needlework before COVID. I want to say it was maybe in 2018. Someone was selling it at the retreat, and it was just stunning, and I had to get it immediately. This was before I was even interested in reproduction samplers. I had to have it. I had to have it. So this is, let me, this way up, yeah. So here's what I have done so far. I'm working from the middle out on this. I am working this on 36 count vanilla latte from Bestitch Me. Love the fabric, super, super soft. And I am doing a conversion to the Vicki Clayton silks. She has a printed conversion on her website for this piece. So I got that floss pack about, I don't know, a year or so ago. So I don't have the floss out to show you like I will be for some of these other projects, because while Vicki, I think now has switched off of the spools, all of these colors are on spools, and if I take them all out, they're going to be rolling all over my office. But that is what I have done so far. And she just is super, super pretty. I am stitching this with one thread over 2, because it's thick enough to cover for this. So that's Miss Lucy. Now she did another sampler, I think the following year. I think there's an 1826 as well, but this is the 1825 when she was younger. So just for clarification, if you go looking for it, there are 2 Lucy samplers. All right. The next one is Mary Foch, and I've shown this a few times now. This is from, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say that to you. Lucy Calcutt is printed by Just Stitching Along, in case you're looking for it. Okay, so here is Mary Foch, and Mary Foch is printed, was reproduced by Running with Needles and Scissors. This is now out. If you're watching any of my older episodes, I will, frequently be saying, not published yet, not published yet. It has been published now. It was a Nashville release this spring. I started stitching on it last September with the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, and it was like a monthly stitch along that we were doing, as Sylvia, who is Running with Needles and Scissors, as she worked through and released each part of it. It is not in parts for the final release. It is a full chart. Excuse me. So don't ignore my part 1. That's from just when we got it. But I was only stitching on her for the past several months as part of the stitch along, just to see how far I got during our gatherings. Now that those are over with and we're going to be moving to a new project, it's just kind of going to go into my normal rotation. So here's where I am on her. I'm kind of doing a bit of whatever parts strike my fancy now, since we're out of the formal stitch along. This is on 46 count oat fabric by Fibers on a Whim. Everything so far is stitched over 2, including the words. I know a lot of samplers will have like the words stitched over 1 thread. This is over 2. I'm doing it in the charted colors that Sylvia did. It is a really, really, really pretty autumn palette. Let me shake that, they're a little tangled. These are the flosses for it. Super, super, super pretty. So yeah, this one's just gonna continue to come in and out of my, my rotation. Definitely will be coming out for Sampler September. I am fully prepared to do a Sampler September this year because I now have a lot of samplers since I got back into the guild and started doing samplers. I'm kind of enjoying them. I think we all go through our phases of different styles, and I'm kind of in my sampler era right now. But yep, so that's Mary Foch. Not a ton done on her, but I think once I get past those letters at the top, it's going to move a lot faster, because from then on, it pretty much is all motifs. And motifs always seem to go fast for me. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, so those are my 2 WhipGo projects. Everything else I'm going to show you here are new starts. And when I say new starts, I only worked on each of these for a day. And because the original plan for me for doing Stitch Mania for May was 25 projects, 25 days. I chose some new starts. I had like 15 whips that I let my friends pick, as I have in years past, where I just do a pick a number between this and this, and the first 15 became the ones I was going to work on. I think I touched maybe 8 of them, maybe 9, but not as many as I wanted to. I wanted to get to all of them. It just wasn't my year. Life goes on. It's not like those projects are going anywhere. They're just sitting over here, so they'll get worked on. But yeah, so all of these that I have that I'm going to show you were new starts. Some of these I've had kitted for years, and some of them are a lot newer. So we'll go at it. Okay, so this is the first one, and these are in no order of when I started them. It's just kind of as they got put in the stack. There's a couple of these. I have to go look at my photos on my phone to figure out what day I actually started them, so I can update my note sheets that I have for each of my projects. Okay, so the first one is Pink Sparrow Sampler. This is from With Thy Needle and Thread, and just so, so pretty. I absolutely love the colors in this one. They're so soft. The funny thing is, well, they are soft in person too, but it's just such a springy sampler, as opposed to Mary Foch being an autumn one, right? So that's that. And the rule continues to be that I can start anything I want as long as I have the stuff in stash. Ooh, I'm fuzzy all of a sudden. There we go. Okay. So this one, believe it or not, I was able to kit this entirely from stash, which was a great feeling. I think I'm missing maybe 1 color. So the next time I go up to Pam's at Stitch New England in Attleboro, because I know I have stuff to pick up, I'm just going to double check, and if I need anything, I'll grab it while I'm there. So this was from stash, and this is, well, I don't need that whole thing because I just haven't cut my fabric yet. It's going to fit over here. This was my start, and I am stitching this on 32 count Summer Sunset Lugana from Silk Weaver. I do not know how old this piece of fabric is. I bought it when the boys still had their shop in New Jersey, and this shop is now closed. So Needlework with Jim is who still sells this fabric, if he still sells this fabric, and he's been doing events, but they don't have a shop anymore that I'm aware of. But this is, here are the flosses for this one that I have to date. So it's a really pretty, you know, a little more springy. But obviously that top border stitched really quick since it was just straight lines. And again, another one to come out in Sampler September. Okay, next, this was the project for the Spring Fling that Lindy Stitches hosted back at the beginning of May. And that seems like a year and a half ago with how this last month has been. Kathy from Hands-On Design taught the class. I don't, oh wait. No, that's further down. Ignore me. I'll get back to that. Hold please. Okay, the next project I have actually is the one that I started the other night. And that is Bees in the Greenhouse by the Blue Flower. This is the new Tudor Rose Sampler Guild Stitch Along for the summer. And we'll be getting tips on how to finish it from Janine McGowan of the Blue Flower at our August meeting. So if you are someone who is curious and wants to see what these guilds are like, or you've stitched this and want some finishing tips, and you want to be a guest, go on to the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild website and contact the guild, letting them know that you would like to try out a meeting before you commit to joining, which at this point you probably just want to wait to join in January, but you can give the guild a try and see how things are. So we're going to be doing a stitch along through the summer to finish this. You can buy this directly off of the Blue Flower's website, which is why I have a black and white copy. And that's what I did on this case. So that is the piece. And she did another one that was very similar, I think, for the Jingle Ball last year, if I remember. I don't know if this is going to show up super, super well, but, oh, it's okay. So I'm just doing the outline right now, which is all in white. I am stitching this on 40 count Through the Stones even weave from Bestitch Me. And I know, I kind of know how this is going to be put together because I've done whip stitch finishing before. And I know people go, oh, you don't want to do this on even weave. It's a little trickier to do whip stitch finishing on even weave because you can't fold the edge over quite as cleanly, but it can be done. And it just involves, you may just need to iron it to get a nice firm crease, as opposed to with linen where you can actually like fold it easily with your hand and with your thumb. So I'm not as worried about that. I just wanted to get the fabric that looked very, very similar from my stash that I had to what was part of the original pattern, because I just was too lazy to, you know, try to swap out colors and all that kind of stuff with floss. So that's that one to date. And I mean, that was one evening. I stitched that while watching Rogue One for the whatever time, because we just finished Andor season 2. I stitched that during the movie, so it's stitching up quickly. The floss is on this one. I I haven't put this one onto cards yet, so I just have a hunk of DMC, but pretty colors, really pretty colors, lots of white, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this one develops, and then doing the class with Janine. Well, it's not really a class, it's our guild presentation, so it's going to be like an hour. But her presentation on how she finished it, in case what I'm imagining from how I see it is different than what actually is going to be going on. Okay, next, let me move that piece there. Next was the surprise project of May, and this is the one that I zipped right along on, and I kind of was taken aback. This one is called Life Gives Lemons from Dream Pattern, and I found this one on the freebie table. Pretty sure I found this one at Stitch New England retreat last year. If not there, then I might have found it at the farm, but I'm pretty sure this was at Stitch New England. And I just loved the colors. I stitch in so many darker, muted tones that just that bright green and that bright yellow just popped out at me. And plus, you know, I like sarcasm. So this just fit perfectly. So it says, when life gives you lemons, make a gin and tonic. I'm not even a gin and tonic person, but if you want to put a little cranberry juice in that gin and tonic, I'll probably be happy. But so yeah, this is the pattern, and it is on your old school, stiff as a board, 14 count Aida. All crunchy. I probably could have washed it before I stitched on it, but I didn't. But that's how much I got done in a day, you guys. I never stitch that much. That's like 500 stitches in a day. That's super fast for me. And that's the where lemons is on it. But isn't that cool so far? And I mean, the palette on this one, look at those colors. It's so completely opposite of everything else I have going. It's awesome. Just like super bright colors. So very excited. And I won't lie, it was kind of nice to switch down to 14 count for a while, because for me it's like, ooh, this is like easy stitching on cruise control. So yeah, nice start on that one. Obviously that'll be a really fun summertime stitch, so this will be coming back out probably once Frogworts is done, because the next like 6 weeks of stitching for me are pretty well blocked out. So there's that one. All right, now I'm back to Spring Mingle. Sorry, I didn't have things in the right order, as I said. All right, so this is the Bees Got Knees, and this is from Hands On Design, and was the official class for the retreat. I'm sure that Kathy from Hands On Design will probably release this at some point, but it's probably, the earliest is going to be like next year at Nashville. So if you were not part of that retreat, you're going to have to wait for a little while, but I'm sure it's going to be released at some point in the future. Super cute. I love the fact that she has the pins on the top of these are made, you make them yourself on perforated paper for something new and different. The finishing of it is, again, it's whip stitch finishing. So very comfortable for me to do, not worried about it at all. She also gave a cute alternate to just do the wreath that's on the top of this box here as its own little ornament thing. And I may do that. I've got some scraps of darker fabric that this could look super cute on. So this is what I have done so far. I got this done during the Spring Mingle weekend. This is the top. Come on, focus. There we go. A little fussy, you know, with counting, but nothing too bad. Ignore these two stitches up here just for me to say, hey, that's the top of the fabric, so I don't get lost, because it's got a lot of very similar corners on the project. It's kind of stitched as like, it looks like a quatrefoil in shape a little bit. And then you know, just so I know where I am on the pattern at any given time. Those stitches up there are just for the, hey, that's the top of your pattern and the top of your fabric. But really, really cute. And the colors are just bright and happy and springy. Again, unusual for me because I seem to go somber. I don't know what that is with me, but I tend to go that direction a lot more. So widening my spread of stitching again. But yeah, that's where that is. And not sure when I'll get that finished, but that'll probably come out again sometime this summer just because it's happy, you know, summery colors. And then for no reason, I decided to pick up, because I've gotten a lot of winter patterns lately, a lot of Christmassy stuff lately that I haven't stitched, and this was in a box, and I think this was in a black needle box, but I could be wrong. It might have been in a Be Stitch Me box, but one or the other. And I had to print out a picture of the pattern for you in black and white because the actual chart itself was like just the chart, and it didn't have a large picture of it. So if I showed it, you'd have the whole chart on screen, and we don't want to do that. So this is called Snow is Falling, Hot Cocoa is Calling, from Cherry Hill Stitchery. The flosses are all DMC. Super cute, super basic colors, nothing out of the ordinary. And I barely got anything done on this, but it's still cute. This is on the Designed For It colors. So yeah, it must have been a Be Stitch Me box. This is 32 count hot cocoa linen from Be Stitch Me. And I just have the very beginning of that going. Nothing big yet, but those, I always stumble a little bit with those snowflakes when they're, you know, charted like that. For some reason, it just takes me forever to get my head around them. I don't know what it is. But there we go. Little start. I think that was during Spring Mingle, and I just like ran out of time and energy that night, and I just couldn't keep going. Because it was like, I've done a lot of stitching this weekend, and I just dropped. So that's why that's a small start. Okay. Next up is something that I have had in my stash, I am not joking, for 15 years. I got both the chart and the accessory pack for this thing at my very first Stitcher's Hideaway retreat as part of one of the like door prizes. And I've had this on my to start list every year going, I'm going to start that this year. I'm going to start that this year. I finally sucked it up and started it last month. Finally. Took me long enough. This is Barnwood Buttons from Rosewood Manor. Now, so when I got the bag, I got the pattern and I got all the buttons. Now, come on, focus. So this is the, I know some of these buttons have been changed because they couldn't get the originals anymore. This button pack was like $50 just for the buttons. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're really nice buttons, but they're pricey. And had I not gotten them, I probably either would have never stitched this, or I would have just like rummaged through old button bins and found buttons that I could sub out for this. And if you are intimidated starting this because of that reason, go raid button bins. Have at it. I mean, the whole project is in white. You can have fun with this thing and make it your own. So finally got started on it. And I have changed both the fabric and the floss. So I decided, because while I've seen that brown fabric, the Barnwood brown from Picture This Plus, and it is beautiful. It's not me. It just isn't me. So you have to do it on dark fabric though to make it work, especially, you know, with those buttons. So I found at one of the many retreats I was at, and I don't remember which one at this point, I found this dark lilac. They call it French lilac. It's also from Picture This Plus. Look at this. So I am starting from the bottom on this one because it just made sense to start there, to put the base in, because it's, you know, a zigzaggy line all the way across. Let me move it over there. But isn't this fabric just gorgeous? And purple is totally me. As you can see, purple is totally me. Yeah, I'm going to be so thrilled with this when it's done. This just speaks to me. And I'm kind of glad I waited because I got it just how I wanted to do it. And, you know, you have to be happy with what you stitch. Rule number one, you have to be happy with what you stitch. So the original, I have to look it up here in the thing. The original floss for this is Weeks Dye Work linen. And it calls for 5 skeins of it. I decided instead of going and trying to drag out 5 skeins a week, so I'm like, you know what? I can go and do Threadworks. And I've got tons of Threadworks that I haven't used in my stash. Because again, working from stash. Fabric I've had since before COVID. Floss I've had since before COVID. And so I sent out 3 different options for Threadworks floss to a couple of my friends and said, hey, which one do you think works best? And everyone kind of was like, there's a couple, these 2 would really, really work. I don't know between those 2. And then my heart said, you know what, we're going to do this one. So this is Threadworks 1147, and it is an ecru floss, but it has just a little tinge of peach in it, kind of like trying to go pink, but not quite pink, and just a little tinge of green in it. And when I say tinge, I mean they're so subtle and so pastel that it's just going to give it a really pretty soft look when it's on it. And I wanted that intentionally to go against these buttons because a couple of them aren't the same shade. There's some that are a little more white, some of them are a little more, you know, bone color. So I think this will just give it the dimension that I want. So that's the route I'm taking with Barnwood buttons. And it's not that it's a very difficult stitch. I mean, it really isn't that difficult of a stitch. So we'll see how long it takes to get it done. For those who, if you can't read the verse on it or you don't know the verse, it's called, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, he finds it attached to the rest of the world. And that is by John Muir. I never pronounced his name right, I'm sorry. Who was a very famous naturalist. So that's Barnwood buttons. It's finally started. Took me forever. So let's now go on the adventure with that one. Okay, 2 more. Next up, this is from the last time I attended a celebration of needlework in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is held generally sometime in May. One year it went to June just by accident, but it's a May event. Held over a very long weekend in Nashua, and they have a tradition on Friday nights of having 2 what they call round robins. And in 1 hour, 4 designers come up and they have a little small, like, make it, take it type ornament. And by the time you're done with the hour, you're walking out with 4 new projects, all which are small, you know, quicker projects. And if you do both round robins, you walk out with 8 at the end of a 2-hour stretch for you to do. And I have used it more as a way to get to know designers that I otherwise wouldn't. I just meet and, learn about different people's work. And it's just fun. Are all the projects to my liking? No, probably not. But it's still fun to see what people come up with and ideas they come up with. And for the cost, it's really not that bad. I consider it more of a meet and greet than anything else. So this one was the first time that I met Romy from Romy's Creations. And in 2019, which was the last time I went to Celebration, she did these adorable hedgehog pincushions. I'm presuming because there's 4 photos that there were 4 different versions that were handed out during that class, probably because, you only have so many bows. Mine is the blue one. And I have mine, it's on a 35 count white Edinburgh Zweigart. Everything was kitted up. So it's with her own flosses and tiny. It's on like the tiniest hoop that I have. Unexciting start, I know. I'm basically kind of just working on his back. To start, it's pretty solidly stitched, but he's just so cute. I had to start him for a heavy stitched small. But yeah, that one. And my final start, like I said, I want to start happy this month. I need another little house. I've got so many little house to stitch, and I love her stuff. It's just easy and chill, and like it's pretty stitching. It's not complicated stitching, and they just look awesome when they're done. So it's the kind of stuff that if I'm in a mood to just like sit back and chill stitch, chances are I'll get out one of my little house projects. And I have, I think, 2 going right now. I didn't need another one, but it's not a matter of need. So this is Blessed is the Life, and I've had this in my stash for quite a while. It says, "Blessed is the life that finds joy in the journey," which is probably one of my biggest mantras. I am in it for the journey, not the finish. Clearly that I do that with my stitching since I don't finish all that much. It's all about the experience for me and just wandering the road and seeing where it takes me. So this pattern definitely speaks to me. It has a very traditional little house color set, very autumny colors. A lot of her stuff has very common colors, ones that this is one of the ones that was all in classic colorworks, and in this case it was pulling out crescent and classic colorworks. So I have some of them that are in crescent colors, and I have the same one just in case in classic colorworks, and they're actually pretty darn close. So small start on this one, just the top zigzag border. This one is on 30 count unbleached linen from Northern Cross that I had in my stash. And now that I have it here, my Egyptian sampler has always been the great mystery of what brand of fabric it's on. Because I bought that one before I was keeping track of any of this kind of stuff. It's like, it needs linen. Oh, I like that linen. And I would buy it. And I made no notes about what anything was on or what I was doing. It was like, okay, we're just going to grab it. We're going to go. And then I realized, you know what? It probably would be good to keep track of this stuff, partially because people ask you what you're stitching it on. And partially just for a stitching record for later, just to document information about the piece if any of it survives past me. So this is Northern Cross, as I said, and this feels exactly like the fabric that I'm doing Egyptian sampler on. It is not Zweigart. This is definitely a much rougher linen. It's kind of got that the witch elt feel to it, but I don't know if it's a witch elt base. Being 30 count, I'm honestly not sure. But definitely a little rougher to the touch, but it's not bothering me that bad. So, and for, you know, for a little house needlework where it's easy stitching, I'm not going to be fighting my stitches. So I don't mind working with fabric that doesn't bother me as much, especially when it's not going to be a huge piece that I'm going to have to touch constantly. But it definitely has a rougher feel to it. Much more rustic, but then again, that kind of fits Little House, right? So that is all of my stitching. So what's up for June? I am focusing on Chatelaine Water Garden, which I did not pull down because it's kind of off somewhere, and I had a lot here. I have Jade Band Sampler, which I worked on last night, which is right here. Focus, focus. This is being done on 27 count banding, and this is from iStitch Designs, and it was a 30-part band sampler. This is the beginning of week 19 of 30. So it's coming along. And I am hoping to get this done this year. So I'm hoping this month to make a really, really good show on it and get at least one more week done, if not 2 weeks done. I also have a Biscornu I need to do because next weekend I'm going to be showing some of my local stitchers who have never done Biscornus how you finish them. And it's kind of just an overview, honestly, of whip stitch finishing, because that's all Biscornus really are. But they haven't done them, and like many people, I'm one of them, having someone work with you the first time just makes it easier. So yeah, so I'm going to be teaching a class for the first time. I'm not the only one teaching. We've got a few of us who have done Biscornu, so we're going to be like hiving off with people and doing some one-on-one mentoring is probably a better word for it. So that's going on. Like I said, doing sales stuff, so I'll be doing that on Facebook. Yeah. And then Frogworts is coming up in July, and if it goes like it did last year, there's probably going to be a kickoff start-along sometime at the end of June. So I want to get a lot of my other stitching done before then, because that whenever that start-along starts through the end of Frogworts, I'm working on Frogworts because I am going to be crazy enough to try to finish that entire piece again in that span. We'll see if I can do it. I don't know if I can, but I am ready for the challenge and ready for the insanity. So that's what's coming up the next few weeks. Personal front, my son has 2.5 weeks of school left now. His last day is on the 23rd because we go late here in New England, and he had to make up a snow day. I haven't decided yet whether I'm doing the Midsummer Stitch with Lindy Stitches, because that's like the weekend right after Frogworts, so I don't know if I can swing having 2 weekends exclusively stitching. We'll see. It kind of depends on what else is going on in life. My son's going to be going to summer camp. Eric's going to be starting his new commute, and I'm sure he's going to be grumbling, and I don't blame him, because hopefully it's not as bad as I think it's going to be. My commute to Boston is 2 hours each direction if I drive. He's looking at 5:30 in the morning of at least an hour and a half. So it's not going to be fun. But it is what it is, right? And we all do what we got to do. He likes the job. He likes the company. So we're going to see if we can continue to make it work. And in the meantime, life goes on and I'll keep stitching. So for those of you who have the fortune to go to StitchCon in the next couple of weeks, enjoy. I'm jealous. It falls at a bad time of year for me, and I would love to go sometime, but that is not in the cards for me for quite some time. And for the one other thing I forgot. I was thinking of doing a Flosstube live broadcast at some point where I'm just stitching, and if people have questions they can ask or just hang out and stitch with me. For right now, just YouTube. I canceled my personal Zoom account, so I couldn't do a Zoom at this time unless we did like a 45-minute freebie Zoom. But was thinking about doing that as a change up to my normal Flosstube recording like this. And so if people had questions or whatnot, or just wanted to chat and hang out and stitch, try something like that, let me know if that interests you. And if so, what type of format you would recommend, because I'm all ears. And that's about it. So it's about 2:30, and I took a late lunch hour from work to film this, so I have to get back to work because I've been bad. So I'm going to leave off here for now. But have a lovely rest of your week. Happy stitching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.